Warning, this video contains major spoilers for Danganronpa 1, 2, and V3. As you could probably tell by my profile pic, I'm a big fan of the Danganronpa series. I've played every game and I try to consume as much spin-off media as possible. I just can't get enough of the Danganronpa universe and its characters. The best part about the series is still the games though, and the best part of the games are the trials, which is the main focus of this video. Each case is different, and it's always fun figuring out just what happened in each murder. Today, I will be ranking all the Danganronpa trials from least favorite to favorite. However, I will not be talking about any of the Chapter 6 trials, since I feel they are all in their own league and are usually quite different from the main trials. Anyways, here's the top 15 Danganronpa trials. Number 15. Danganronpa V3 Trial 5. Many of you will be confused as to why I have this trial as my least favorite. I'm sure this will start a flame war since many people actually believe this to be one of the strongest trials in the series. Personally, I hate it. Sure, the mystery itself is good and it's something we have never seen before in the series. We don't know who the victim is, and if we can find out who the victim is, we will know who the killer is. Yeah, it's pretty unique, but that doesn't change the fact that this trial is ruined by insufferable characters. At this point in the game, I was completely fed up with Maki and Kaido, so this trial having them as the main focus made it practically unbearable. If there's one thing worse than a bland case, it's a case I don't care about and that I just want to end. The case just kept going in circles. Shuichi thinks Kaido is the killer. Then Maki gets angry at him since she has a hate boner for Kokichi and thinks he's the killer. Shuichi refutes her and she just gets mad again, ignoring all logic. It just goes to show how characters can break an otherwise interesting mystery. Number 14. Danganronpa Trial 1. There isn't really much to say about this trial, it's so bare-boned. I don't mind the constant tutorials, but being a tutorial is not an excuse to make a case painfully easy. 11037. I sure do wonder what that means. The fact that Makoto can't figure out that clue the second he sees it is kind of frustrating, to be honest. The moment I saw that, I had the whole case figured out. It's ridiculously easy. I will say though, the twist that Sayaka tried to kill Leon is a damn good one. Too bad that it's weighed down by a substandard trial. Overall, a decent tutorial case that could have been so much better. Number 13. Danganronpa Trial 3. Again, another trial that's just meh. It was the first double murder in the series, so that did catch me off guard. I'll give it points for that. Other than that, it's just bland. It was obvious from the very start that Hiro was just a scapegoat, and it didn't take very long for me to become suspicious of Celeste. I feel like it really shouldn't have taken as long as it did to pin the murder on Celeste, and speaking of her motive was weak at best, silly at worst. I really had high hopes for her character. She was hyped up to be extremely smart and talented at lying, and then she goes and commits a murder that clearly points to her being the killer. Even during the trial, all her lies are easily debunked. It was just disappointing to see a character who was so hyped up be defeated so easily. At least her execution was pretty damn cool. Number 12. Super Danganronpa 2 Trial 3. Again, a case of a great mystery ruined by other factors. The mystery itself was quite good. Was it suicide? Who was filming it? How'd the doors get locked? It was all building up to be a great mystery, and for a while it was. But then holes started to form during the trial. It was clear that this case was not fully thought through, since, despite Hiyoko being killed, she is barely mentioned at all during the trial. It was almost like she was shoehorned in for the sake of having a double murder. The motive was also pretty BS, since it was pretty much just a deus ex machina disease to make a murder happen. And after all that, we got one of the blandest executions in the series. This whole trial just felt rushed. Number 11. Danganronpa V3 Trial 3. I had such high hopes for this trial. At this point in the series, it was no surprise that the third trial was, as per usual, a double murder. Within the half hour, all signs began to point towards Korekiyo. But then, an interesting rule was brought up. If two separate people kill people, only the first killer will be found guilty. This made me hope for a format screw. Maybe Kurakyo killed Tenko, but someone else killed Angie. That would have been so much better than the result we got. As per usual, the double murder was committed by one person, Kurakyo. The game hinted that it was going to shake up the formula, but then never delivered. Just plain disappointing. Number 10. Danganronpa V3 Trial 2. So, we've hit the top 10. Now we are getting into the trials I actually enjoyed. This is one of the few trials where I actually had no clue who did it. Maybe it's because I'm a dumbass, but I completely missed the torn fabric being associated with Kurumi. The mystery itself was pretty standard, nothing too mind-blowing. What gives this trial its spot though is that ending. It really made me think. Was convicting Kurumi worth it? Especially if a whole nation is at stake? It really sucked to see Kurumi go. Seeing the group mom admit to what she did was heartbreaking, and seeing everyone cheer her on as she tried to escape her fate nearly brought me to tears. The reason this is so far down the list is because I didn't really find the mystery too amazing. Also, Himiko's refusal to explain her trick because she was too stubborn was absolutely infuriating. Number 9. Super Danganronpa 2 Trial 1. Now this is what a first trial should be. A good tutorial with a good mystery. I absolutely love the mystery in this case. Being stabbed through the floorboards is such an original concept, and it completely delivered on its potential. The star moment of this trial is when Nagito is revealed to actually be an antagonistic character. The reveal is just so good. That crazy laugh tops it all off. The end of the trial also gets pretty emotional and does a good job of giving a hated character a little bit of much needed development. Overall, a pretty good trial. Nothing amazing, just pretty good. Number 8. Danganronpa Trial 5. Usually, I prefer individual cases over the overarching plot in Danganronpa, but this trial manages to do a great fusion of the two. Kyoko showing up right before the trial was gold. It had me on the edge of my seat. Also, Hiro making you prove that Kyoko isn't a ghost made me laugh my ass off. I also like how this trial gives you a bad end. It's a bad end that most people will actually fall for, and it really creeped me out the first time I saw it. I also liked the length. It was relatively short, which was quite refreshing since the last two trials before it were very long. To be honest, I don't have much to say about this trial other than that I enjoyed it, and it was a good lead up to the game's finale. Number 7. Super Danganronpa 2 Trial 2. This trial is all about emotions. Man, oh man, it gets pretty brutal with the sad moments. The murder itself is pretty basic, but the real mystery is the Twilight Syndrome murder case game. Figuring out just what the hell went down in that game was an absolute blast, not to mention its creepy ass atmosphere. Who knew Monokuma was a Suda51 fan? The game also manages to throw out a great red herring in the form of the sparkling justice mask. I fully believed there was a serial killer in our cast's midst, and technically there was, just not in the way you'd think. Before this trial, I was not a fan of Fuyuhiko, but this trial managed to change my view on him completely. I love it when trials take an otherwise unlikable character, put them in the spotlight, and have them come out as better characters on the other side, which this trial did damn well. The game managed to just hint at Peko and Fuyuhiko's relationship before this chapter, but in this trial it's the main focus. Even if you don't ship them, I'm sure the beautifully written dialogue and convincing voice work will have you shedding at least a few tears. And holy crap, that execution! It manages to completely subvert expectations and leave you concerned for a character who was relatively unlikable just a few hours prior. Number 6. Danganronpa V3 Trial 4. Here's another emotional hard hitter with a great mystery. The whole virtual world concept was so unique. I loved how the game made you figure out the rules that the virtual world operates under. The trial had so many good twists, such as the murder weapon being friggin' toilet paper. Only in Danganronpa. Only in Danganronpa. It was also good to see another case where the would-be murderer ends up being murdered. We haven't seen that since Danganronpa 1. And poor Gonta. Poor Gonta. It really sucked to see such a nice guy get manipulated by Kokichi like that. Even worse is that he had his memories erased, so he has absolutely no idea he killed Mew. It gets even sadder when it is revealed that Gonta was actually attempting to mercy kill the group. Gonta found out the truth of the killing game, and whatever that truth was, it was so horrible that Gonta saw death as a better option. The last speech Gonta gives before his execution is absolutely heart-wrenching. His last moments had me in tears. The only reason this trial isn't higher up is because I found Kaido's hypocritical antics during the trial absolutely infuriating. Can we get an F for Gonta? Number 5. Danganronpa Trial 4. So, we finally reached the top 5. These are the big ones. Before this trial, I didn't really think much of Hina, but oh man did this trial turn that around. Instead of the usual formula of just having one suspect, this case has 3. First Hiro, then Toko, then Hina, all of whom have evidence pointing towards them. Showing why each of them couldn't have been a suspect one by one was really fun, as they did have some good arguments as to why they were the killer. The best part though was when Hina was the suspect. She actually goes out and makes the claim that she killed Sakura. This was the first time in the series we actually see someone claim to be the killer. It was quite interesting to see that Hina was fully willing to kill the class, as well as herself, as revenge for Sakura's death. As it turns out, Sakura actually committed suicide, a twist that I was totally not expecting. It also made the trial even more emotional, as it is revealed that the pressure from everyone else drove her to suicide. She killed herself because she believed it would be beneficial to the group if she was dead. God damn. Number 4. Super Danganronpa 2, Trial 4. What a mystery. This has to be the most convoluted trial in Danganronpa history, and I love it. The whole strawberry grape house thing was so complex. I still don't really get it, but boy, was it fun figuring out the whole thing during the trial. I had no clue what the hell happened, and I was going in completely blind. The game would slowly reveal facts in a way that made it feel like I was really figuring it out. The whole ultimate weapon thing had me thrown for a loop, and when I finally figured out the weapon was the building, I felt like a genius. This trial really does do a good job at making you feel smart. The ending was also amazing. I really had no clue who the killer was, and selected Gundam at random. As it turns out, I got it right. I love that Gundam and Nekomaru straight up had a fight to the death in order to save everyone. Those guys have got some balls. Number 3. Danganronpa Trial 2. When I think of Danganronpa as a whole, this trial is what I think of. It perfectly embodies everything great about Danganronpa. Great mysteries, emotional moments, and unpredictable twists. Honestly, this should have been the first trial of this game. It manages to set the mood so well. This trial is just a compilation of great moments. First up, we have the reveal that Toko is Genocide Jack. Danganronpa is known for its wacky characters, and I gotta say, Genocide Jack is one of the wackiest. Her reveal manages to be both shocking and absolutely hilarious. Next, we have the revelation that Byakuya desecrated Chihiro's body. To me, this is one of the most shocking and screwed up moments in the series. It manages to show just how screwed up Byakuya is, as well as give him a much more antagonistic role. But the best part of this case by far is the culprit reveal. Mondo is revealed as the culprit, and his best friend Ishimaru begins to break down, denying that Mondo did it, despite all the evidence pointing to the contrary. The true sadness of it comes from just how pathetic and hopeless it is. At this point, Mondo is pretty much a dead man, and there is nothing Ishimaru can do about it. What follows is one of the most bizarre executions in the series. This truly is the quintessential Danganronpa Trial. Number 2. Danganronpa V3 Trial 1. Why is this trial number 2? It has that perfect mix of a complex case and high emotional stakes. The murder at first seems relatively simple. Someone bashed Rantaro over the head with a shot put ball. But as the case begins to unravel more, it becomes clear that there is way more to this case than meets the eye. The way this murder was committed is absolute genius. It's essentially a Rube Goldberg machine, and the way it's executed is so original, I haven't seen anything like it anywhere else. And how can I talk about this case without mentioning the end twist? It completely breaks the rules of detective fiction and reveals that Kaede, the player character, was the killer all along. We then switch to Shuichi's perspective. Usually, I feel like killing off the main character is cheap and used for shock value, but in V3 it is done masterfully, not only making for a shocking moment, but one that will really bring out your emotions. Kaede was such a likable main character, so to see her be executed in such a horrible fashion is really hard to watch. Add to the fact that her motive was for the good of the rest of the group, and you have a moment that can and will bring you to tears. So, what could the number 1 Danganronpa trial be? Well, if you know how to use process of elimination, I'm sure you figured it out. Super Danganronpa 2, Trial 5. If you had to ask me what is the most iconic moment in Danganronpa, it would be this trial. From Nagito's infamous body discovery to Chiaki's darkly humorous execution, everything about this trial is memorable. This case is one of the most graphic in the series, making it nigh impossible to forget. Danganronpa has been graphic in the past, but never to this level. When you find Nagito's body, it's clear that whoever killed him made sure to put him through a lot of pain first. There are cuts all over his body, and his face is etched with a permanent scream. This image will stick with you for a while. It's pretty screwed up. Another great part of this case is that it's the case where Nagito finally makes his move. All throughout the game he has been a major threat, and now he finally carries out his master plan. It's great seeing how Nagito manages to use the class trial system to kill someone else, something we have not seen so far. I wasn't a big fan of Chiaki, but I still found her reveal as the killer extremely heartbreaking. Seeing the most trusted member of the group being executed for a crime she didn't even mean to commit tugged at my heartstrings in all the right ways. Well, there you have it. That's all the main trials ranked. Tell me down in the comments what your favorite trial was and why. Did you not agree with my list? Comment and tell me what you didn't agree with. Before I go, I have one last important message. Toko is best girl, and you should join the Church of Komaru. This is CJ Mack signing off. Have a nice tragedy.